Well, I need to welcome you back, and we're still with the big story for today, and we're looking at that was held yesterday in a brief ceremony, but indeed creating a whole lot of ripples, and I'm talking of the issue of the signing of the student loan bill that was finally assented to by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu yesterday, making it finally a law. And a scheme, like I said in my initial half, that is started, or rather was first signed in June 12th to be precise, of 2023. Well, suffered a whole lot of delay, as in the government wanting to add more to that very scheme, and needed to be enacted, and now finally into law. Well, anyway, would it definitely give that is made to give, and that talking about helping out those students that will seek for education but are not able due to lack of funds? Or would it also go the way of others that have gone, and we're talking about other beautiful schemes, but rather poor implementation has always been the major hindrance? Well, anyway, we'll not stop about talking about it, but rather continue on that. But what we'll do now for us to continue is go to and get message from our sponsors, and when we come back, more discussion centered on the big story for today.
Oh, yeah, follow the road, auto better quality. If you dey talk gas matter, oh yeah, follow Benetta. Gas with the better quality, Benetta gas. Gas where they full rich man na Benetta gas. Home delivery brother na sharply, Benetta gas. For Benetta gas, no mango na Benetta gas. Different type of gas cylinder, Benetta. I mean that kind gas wey go last you well, na Benetta gas. For gas matter, Benetta now do Benetta gas. Service in a them they run a Benetta gas. Make you carry go.
For gas matter and home delivery, make you wire Benetta gas plant for 080-6745-7890 and 080-5904-7722. Benetta gas plant, the Etekwele of gas matters.
It's colorful, so colorful, wow! It's Oza Furniture and Interior Merchant, a leading name for luxurious furniture at ultra-modern super showroom. Well-stocked is now located near you for the sales and installation of long-lasting exotic and quality interior and exterior furniture for your living space, such as foreign Turkey royal chairs and sofas, glass, wooden and marble royal dining tables and chairs, conference tables and chairs, executive office tables, reception tables, orthopedic office chairs, etc. Oza Furniture and Interior Merchant has in stock royal king-size and queen-size beds, wardrobes, mirror consoles, wall frames and artworks for decoration, wine bars, big TV shelves and TV stands, gym equipment like motorized gym bicycles, gaming chairs, treadmills, outdoor swing chairs, etc. All at affordable prices. We deliver with our vehicles. To make your home that cozy paradise, locate our super showroom along DSC Expressway opposite Platinum Banquet Place, beside Ugboloposo Junction, Efru, Delta State. Or call 0806-394-3198 or 0703-368-7179. Uzo Furniture and Interior Merchant for comfortable home interior furniture experience.
Well, anyway, a real one that has finally come to be, and we're talking about the issue of the Student Loan Act. Now, not a bill. But anyway, as much as we act through it or discuss through it, it's only right we still inform you that our guest is still right here with us. I'm talking about an educationalist and also a legal practitioner. I'm talking of no other person but Barrister Godwin Ojegba. Well, anyway, before in the initial half of our discussion, we looked extensively at some of the would-be hitches as it concerns the implementation of that act. But should we just only cry about the sad part and sorry part of poor implementation, or should we also broaden our mind and look at the intended gains that might follow or come along with that very act? Now, let me come back to you, Barrister Godwin Ojegba. Let's leave the fears. We've extensively talked about some of the problems that might really come on account of these implementing this very act. But let's look at the gains that will be for the children and the students that will definitely access it. And I rather want to start with those gains with the very words of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he said, on account of this bill, no funds will be, or rather no child that is opportune to get better education that would fail to on account of this It is to ensure that no one, no matter how poor their background is excluded from quality education and opportunity to build their future. So let's say the gains are more. So President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said yesterday. So let's look at the gains if, and I repeat, if this bill is fully implemented to the latter.
If it's fully implemented to the latter, that is to the extent that both the body implementing it and the beneficiary, that is persons who access the loan, are working in tandem, the gains will be magnanimous. To the extent that every child that had the opportunity of being in school will not be withdrawn because on account of inability to pay fees. That again is a very good thing. So for me, education will then be made available to the greatest number of persons. I've said on this platform before that once you educate the people, half of the problem is gone. Okay. They are easier to lead, development becomes easier, everything is better off. Okay. And so, if we're able to implement it without any hitch, it will be the best thing that will happen to this country. And indeed, most countries that are developed, Finland for instance, their only resource is education.
Yes.
So once we are able to implement it, and each and everyone that desirable of getting it gets it, education will be the better for us, and everybody will benefit. And I think it is a win-win situation for all of us.
Now, Nigeria is one of the countries that has the highest number of estimated out-of-school children. It's put about 12.6 million, according to UNICEF's recent report, as it concerns out-of-school children. And in all honesty, those that went to primary and secondary school but do not go to higher institution, many believe it's even far higher than that 12.6 million.
Yes.
That has been stated by UNICEF in its latest report. Now, do you see this bill or move changing that narrative and having more persons going to the higher institution? Do you see it really revolutionizing the educational sector and improving on the numbers of persons that will get that tertiary institution knowledge?
It has the capacity to so do. Most persons do not take form or do not take this JAMB form just because they do not have the money to be able to pay the fees, the relevant fees that will be charged at that level. Yeah. Now,
it's not like they don't have the
requisite qualification
to do so.
But because they don't have, if you like call it, the wherewithal to be able to finish the program.
Okay.
But now, if the money is made available, if the finances are made available to them, yes, more persons will access education. Now, outside of this fund that we're talking about, I also want us to insist that the parameter within the school should also be right. Because there are facilities within the schools, not just getting into the schools. What kind of education are we going to get?
Do you feel we should change that?
No, this fund is targeted at the
only
students.
The schools.
It's
only
targeted
the children
at the students.
Paying for their fees. But there's this belief that as much as they are able to pay, we can now see better development when it comes to structures, facilities. And
it's a different kettle of fish altogether.
So why not readily see an improvement on that side?
On that side. And you know, for us to get the kind of education we want, all the facilities must be in place. The personnel, the facilities, that is the building, the materials in terms of laboratory and library must also be there. The ambience. Yes. If you enter university campus in the past, you will just know that this is a university. The surrounding, the ambience, the physical facilities, the structures, the trees, the roads, the lawns, everything is just there. And when you go into the library, of course, you will know that this is a university. If you go into the bookshop, but of course, these days, university no longer have bookshop. If you go to the library, you go to the laboratory, you go to the computer lab, I mean, everything is just in place. So assuming that all these ones are in place, because they have to be in place, and let us assume that they are in place, and education is not subsidized or fully funded by way of this loan. Of course, the sky will be our limit. We'll launch ourselves there one day.
But anyway, before we go to the skies, I want us to remain here. And I want you to, and I really want to ask a question, because like I said in my initial discussion, or in my initial introduction, this bill was signed way back in June of 2023. And in all honesty, it was intended to kickstart in September of last year. But it was only delayed because of a bid to expand the scheme to include loans for vocational skills, which many feel will just be the driving force to help improve or push us to the area of industrialization. Now, my question, do you see adding vocational skills students to this loan as a welcome development? And do you feel that is what we need as a people? Now, everybody is going to ICT, but there's this also clamor that are we there yet when it comes to having the required skills for our industries? Will this bill help to change all of that?
Now, if you look at this bill as it is, what is our orientation? The bill is on paper. Our mindset is such that we acquire the paper qualifications. No elite. You can take that from me for free. We'll sell the shirt to go and be a mason, a cobbler, or learn one of these skills. A welder, for instance. Now, the polytechnics were set up to be able to produce middle-level manpower who are skilled in these areas.
In these fields.
Now, these ones have been relegated to the background.
So they were not able to do it?
They were not able to do it, and I don't see them being able to do it in the near future.
So I'm now asking, at any point delaying this beautiful scheme,
it should not have been delayed, because however you look at it, the result will be the same thing. Our children will not be willing to learn the skills until such a time that they have left school and they find it difficult, either because of unemployment, that is when they can come back. But within this first 16, 17 years that a child will leave the secondary school and think of going into a skill within the university system or the polytechnic, that is far from the truth. But of course, we live here to the UK and become caregiver, to be cab drivers and all of that. Do we do the same here? If we do the same here, the first lady should not have lamented while we're doing
so that got the wrath of Nigerians. Though.
Yes, but the reality is that the vocations, people look down on people in the vocations, whereas they make a lot of money. So there are people who are seen to have not done too well in terms of cognitive ability. Unless you're able to read and write, you wear tie, you wear jacket to the office, people don't seem to give you enough recognition and respect. And until we change our values, we'll still not be able to get it right at that level. What you find is that after 1 or 2 years, you might bring me back here to ask me if my position on that area has changed. But I know it may not be changing at all very soon. Our people will not get into the vocations. The vocations will still remain largely occupied by imported persons from Togo and neighboring West African countries. Making a lot of money from it.
Now, let's look at that dichotomy between the BSc holder and the HND. The federal government has done a lot. On paper. Many will say on paper.
Since the time of Obasanjo?
Yes. In dealing with that disparity.
But what difference has it made?
Why has it not really worked?
What difference has it made? It hasn't made any difference. Because our orientation, talk is cheap.
Talk is cheap.
Now, once you have said it, begin to implement it. It's implementation that is difficult. What is the cutoff mark for universities? What is the cutoff mark for polytechnic? What is the cutoff mark for JAM for colleges of education?
There's always that difference.
It's this disparity that makes the difference. And because of the disparity, we look at it, I would say, the person who is unable to get admission to university, that goes to polytechnic. If you have the two, would you have preferred to go to polytechnic? If you were given admission into University of Lagos and Yaba College of Technology, for instance,
so you feel earlier. The disparity even starts with the selection
long ago. Long ago, and it will continue to be there. Because even in the selection process, even in the qualification process, because sometimes for some of them it's 4 credits, for others it's 5 credits at 2 sittings. And watch off at the college of education level where you need to have 2 credits or so to go to the college of education, and maybe you now have 100 over 400. That is less than 25% to get into the college of education or maybe faculty of education to go and become a teacher. So what do you expect that kind of person to do? What will he deliver? In developed climes, what do you find? The people who made first class or second class upper are applied into the industries and the university to go into research and develop the society. The people who made maybe lower grades, 2 and all of that, can go there and teach and work in the factories. That's what happened. But what you have here, people who make 2-1 first class and all of that, go into the banking sector, go into the plum industries, blue chip companies, and they work there. So what you find is that it is top class people and the maybe two that go to industry to begin to design and manufacture things. That's why we're not where we are. So until and unless we begin to say, look, we must emphasize. In fact, let me also shock you. The MIT in America is a polytechnic.
Yeah. The well-renowned MIT.
MIT. It's a polytechnic. So what do we do here? We have several polytechnics. In fact, they have started converting them to university, to degree-awarding institutions. So after some time, you will not be hearing of polytechnic any longer. Even if they are there in name because they not award degrees for fear that they'll be discriminated against. So the issue of vocations will still suffer these things until such a time that we begin to realize that we complement each other. You need somebody to do
for
that.
Research, polytechnics for skill acquisition. And
maintaining. You need the skills to be able to move on.
Yes.
You can't build a house without the skill.
And China is on the path of growth.
China is far ahead. In China, let me give you an instance. Somebody can be working in Maiduguri and he lives in Nugeli because the train is such a way that they can drive 800 kilometers per hour. Designed not by the university but by the polytechnics. In fact, in England, most of the development that you find is through the skill acquisition, through the skills, not necessarily by the use of your brain, by what you call cognitive skills and the papers, the white-collar job, no. But here, the white-collar job, because of corruption, make a lot of money, they inflate contracts, they do supervisory jobs, here they still make money. And see people begin to feel that rather than go to wear overall and look dirty, why don't I wear suit? Go to the office and be driving an air-conditioned car and go to an air-conditioned office. So that's the reality on ground. And until we address that issue, we may not get too far.
I know we're almost at the twilight of the show as it concerns our discussion on student bill. And in case you're joining us, I would just implore you to stick around and be with us. And let me quickly ask you a question. You raised a fundamental point earlier when you said, if I bring you back here 1 year time, your views about it concerns that of skills. Yeah, vocational skill will not change. But I would love to even ask you now, do you see this scheme in 1 year time doing what it's intended to? Just a honest side. I'm just really keen to get your reaction as it concerns that. If I bring you here a year from now, do you see yourself answering and saying, yes, this bill was a bill that was well thought out of and a bill that was made to change things 1 year after?
Well, I would say that it was well thought out, but the implementation will be difficult. So it will still be struggling. There will be need to review at that point in time. Struggling because the initial things that had been inserted into it by way of conditionalities for obtaining this loan might be difficult. I'll begin to think of how do we rejig the law. And until you rejig that law, to be able to understand that so many persons will not be able to access the loan on the basis of the fact that they cannot meet the conditions laid down for accessing it, we will not go far from it. So what I will expect is that in the next 1 year, not much would have changed. Not much. Of course, 1 year will be maybe March next year. Not much would have changed. Because again, in September, people will be applying, they'll be applying against the next academic session.
Most certainly. Most certainly.
You release 5 billion, for instance. Yes. That is the initial takeoff.
That's the initial takeoff.
I am told that what is what is released for Hajj is 90 billion.
Yes.
It speaks volume of what our priorities are.
But sir, should we not be heading to heaven and a better life?
It speaks heaven of what our priorities are.
Well, anyway, but I got to I will not drag you into the religious sphere. But let us stick with our priority and look at what you said. You're not comfortable with the amount.
Not comfortable at all. Quite insignificant. If you reduce that into the number of universities that will have.
Unlikely students.
Unlikely students. You are going to get less than €1 million per student. And what is the tuition fee of the university these days? A child that is going to university will need to have the fees paid, will need to have his books bought, will need to have
accommodation,
laboratory, all these ones paid for. And I do not think that 1 million naira will be enough for that kind of job.
Especially with the present
reality
state of things. But anyway, the reality is we need to go on break, and we need to thank you also on this ground for really coming to do this with us. I do know you ought to be somewhere right now, and I will not delay that. But rather, thank you all the same for also adding your voice to the student bill. I'm talking of no other person, educationalist and also legal practitioner, Barrister Godwin Ojegba. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, well,
hope to see you next time.
Yes, we'll go on a break, and when we come back, we'll try and wrap things up on the later part of the big story. Let's go on a break.